My time in the Wasatch Mountains. We're at Park City, Utah, the venue for the 2002 Winter Olympic Games. It's round 5 of the BMW IBSF 4-man bobsled World Cup. And it's a double 4-man weekend. But John Morgan alongside me here at the trackside. We're in the dry. It's hellishly windy and snowy outside.
Yeah, very, very gusty winds up at the top. I was just there 15 minutes ago. Same things plagued the women's race earlier today. It's a short track built and opened in March of 1997. And look at the start record here. Way back at the Olympic Games in 2002, 14 years ago. Wow. Easy to get in the sled and get down, but the 4-man sleds, like the 2-man, you can't make any mistakes up here, and it's just no chance at the bottom. The big first sweeping curve, sunny, hard left, and now they could really start to pick up speed. Next curve is snowy, and now they launch yourself, 3-corner combination, and out of here you go into Albert's Alley, then to a big pressure curve called Wasatch. Look at this big sweeping left, named after a mountain range where this beautiful place sits. And down here in the bottom, there's an Olympic curve coming up. Now you're going 80+ miles an hour and into this Olympic curve and out into the graveyard. It's an uphill section of the track, and if you hit like that sled just did, you won't have any chance at the finish. You can lose a lot of time in the last 100 meters.
And look at that track record set the year before the games, 2001, by Andre Langer. Martin Anning with the start record in the games 2002. And another Olympian is here this weekend. Our race director is Val Fleming. Max Arndt is our World Cup points leader. Won for the first time last weekend. Crept ahead of Francesco Friedrich, his teammate. And a double 4-man weekend here could play into Arndt's hands. Could give him a bit of a lead as they head to Whistler next week. Those are the World Cup standings based on our races so far. This is race 5 of 8 of the season. And as the light fades, you can see the sleds up at the top. It is blowing, it is snowy, but that's okay because it's a dry cold here.
Yeah, there's Stephen Holcomb. It's in his hometown, and he's had some problems in training all week. He's very perplexed about his times.
Yeah, he was a little lost, wasn't he? Looking very lost yesterday. The drive is good, but the speed is going away.
See those guys in the blue jackets? That's the IBSF officials just clearing off any kind of foreign substance on the runners.
Yoon Jung-won of Korea will be racing for their lost coach Malcolm Lloyd, whose memorial service is today.
Ironically, one of the first guys down in March 1997 was Prince Albert Grimaldi and his brakeman Malcolm Gomer Lloyd.
Yep.
This track first opened.
Been there and done it all. Francesco Friedrich is the first man out of the start shed today. Teammate Nico Volta, Simone Bertazzo follow him. We've got a field of 21 sleds, and they will be cut to 20 for the second heat. Anybody who doesn't complete the run will not get a second run. So our 2 rookies at the back, Ivo de Bruin of the Netherlands and Billy Meyer-Hans of Switzerland, will be those who are most under pressure to perform at the start here in the teeth of what is now quite a strong wind coming right up the track at you. Germany's Francesco Friedrich won the opening 2 races of the season, only lost the World Cup points lead a week ago. Candy Bauer, the big brakeman, his first race of the season, he is back and healthy. Joins him with Martin Putzer, and regular 2-man brakeman Torsten Marg is there with the bone gloves on the back handles.
Candy Bauer, his first appearance of the 2015-16 season. He's only 118 kilos, which is about 250 pounds.
252, 258 pounds.
And you want to give Francesco Friedrich a better start. Candy Bauer, they expect, will do it. He's already got the best start. So he's the first man down. Whether or not he's a snowplow, we don't know yet. But we saw the women's race. #1 draw was the German sled, and we think she might have been a snowplow because she didn't have a very good time.
Well, they've swept the track before the race starts. There'll be a protocol to sweep probably every 2 sleds, I would think. It's snowing so hard, maybe even every single sled. With 21 in the field, we've got to get through them. Nice, neat lines from Friedrich. Speeds we saw.
Big mistake in the graveyard. Look at the speed. Yeah. 137, 85.7 miles an hour on a short track, and the coach, you could tell right there he didn't like it. Christoph Langen knew that the mistake, and that guy Christoph Langen won the gold medal here in 2-man bobsled competition at the Salt Lake Olympics, and he knows how to get down this track. Well, here's up top. Look at the pressure. Look at the heads. This is down to the entrance to the Olympic curve. And now this is the graveyard.
Yep.
Why do we call it the graveyard? You're going uphill. Oh, that just erases a lot of time.
You know how skiers slow down by going sideways? Works the same with runners on a bobsled.
René Spies, Christian Heider, both good German athletes in their day, and now another German team. Interesting to watch the protocol for the snowing.
Yeah, little hold there. See the official on the right-hand side of your screen, the left of the starting area.
He just said, go ahead.
Yeah, now you can put it down. He's hearing on the radio that the track is clear for Nico Walter, the 25-year-old from Freital near Altenburg. They are sweeping the whole start groove for every sled.
Okay, now the start time. Nico gives up a little time here at the start, but of course, pretty good result. Last couple weeks out, last couple times out, he's fourth, third, and fifth the last 4 races, the first 4 races of the season. And these are the red numbers here. Of course, he had a 600 slower start, so he should be 1,200s behind, only 900s behind. So maybe he can stop the bleeding, get into that graveyard with a straight line. He might be able to catch Friedrich on the bottom.
And of course, that skid in between 14 and 15 at the end of the course is what will hurt Friedrich as much as anything else.
He's eating into it, 800s. He gets clean down here in that graveyard. He's down to 4. Now watch how straight he'll be here. If he's straight, he'll be the leader.
Good exit.
That looks
Will he
good to
take
me.
the lead?
Should be the leader.
1:37.9 was the top speed. He's going to be very close, but just behind.
Look at Christoph.
I love Christoph Langen. He's a great poker player, isn't he? You never have any idea what he's thinking.
Yeah. Surprised Walter didn't have the speed there. Even with that, the speed's registered on the exit of that Olympic curve.
Of course, they're having to guess what the ice temperature and the conditions will be early in the day when they choose their runners.
The persona of this track, when all things are equal, we have ties. Very common to have ties. Look at the heads buried. Look how high he gets here, though. Way above that blue line. That's down, I think it's snowy. Wow, that was way above the blue line that's in there. There's Christoph Heider, longtime brakeman for Langen and a few others.
Yeah, what a beast he was.
Yeah.
And he speaks from Germany's great 2-man drivers in the last generation of sliders. Talking about great 2-man drivers, Simone Bertazzo has always been possessed of great driving ability. Now 33-year-old though, the man from Pieve di Cadore, close to Cortina in the Italian Dolomites, has been having a much better season this year in the 4-man. That's starting to become more and more his forte. Simone Fontana behind him, who's also a 2-man driver, Constantino Ughi and Francesco Costa. I think when we get back to Europe, we may see Fontana back behind the ropes of the 2-man sled as well.
Well, 7th in the first race of the season, 10th, 15th, and 11th the last 3 times, plagued by a slow start. 5:04, 1000s off, so he should be 3500s behind at the bottom, all things being equal.
Only 400s behind Nico Walter, though. Big skid.
It's not good.
Ooh, that's going to be painful. That little track at the side is where the second of our luge starts comes in. There are 3 different starts on the track for the luge athletes and for learning this track.
Ooh, he's got some issues.
Yeah, not a great exit. Timing is just a little off. Speed will be 135-ish. 1600s behind. That's not a mile away from the lead, but will that be the lead at the bottom? Will Max Arndt produce more? 138.2.
That's not bad.
That's very good.
Wow, look at
top
Fabrizio
speed so far.
Tosini looks on. That's awesome to start that far behind the Germans, which is a full 10th behind Friedrich, and only beat 900s behind.
Yep.
Bravo. I mean, that's excellent.
Well, again, great driver. He's got real abilities, and he's really getting into this Ferrari 4-man sled this year. See the snow swirling around, but look at this skid.
Yeah, up top, this is just, he might have been really challenging for the lead without that skid into 4.
It's probably worth 3 or 400s.
Albert's Alley
And that
taps on the
another
exit.
3 or 4 minimum.
And plus, you're seeing a lot of helmets back there. Not a good aerodynamic drag, but hey, he's 900s back. That's going to tell you. We're going to have 5 or 6 sleds separated by 4 or 500s here before we're done here.
Top 4 in the women's race was separated by 1300s. I think the men's race may well be a little tighter than that. First of our Russian athletes today, 28-year-old Nikita Zakharov from Dimitrov. The Russians have been plundering their luge program for drivers for many years. He was a multiple Russian luge champion before he was snaffled for bobsled. And last week in Lake Placid, tied his best ever World Cup result. Top 10 finished there, and 10th in 2013 on the same track. Last time the Russians raced here was 2013 as well. Zakharov was not in the top 10 then. Let's see what he can do off a 5 flat start.
You know, we've been beaten up on the Russians without results. Kasanov finally got the first Russian medal of the year last week in Lake Placid. But there's 3 Russian sleds in the top 10. So maybe they're going to peak here in January and February part of the year.
Let's have a look at the margin of error. 1400s behind. Now he's got a good exit there, but that's a long skid and that's a short transition. This is one of the things the drivers are talking about this week, John, is that there are straightaways here. There is no straights. It's corner, 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 corner in Lake Placid. Here you've just got to relax into it a little more.
Yeah, this track's got a little different personality than Lake Placid, that's for sure. And he's only 900s back.
Tied for third.
Tie.
With Simone Battazzo. Here we go.
Let me say, Friedrich was the first man down. When I see these 2 times of these 2 sleds only being 900s back, he was a snowplow.
Yep.
And Walter, not so much. Those 2 sleds, Bertazzo and Zakharov, should be 1500s, 2000s back of those 2 German sleds.
Well, now, the other thing we've got to bear in mind is that these guys have been here before. Friedrich and Walter have not. So Friedrich may not be the force here that he has been on the German tracks in the early part of the season.
I'm telling you now, with the starts, the second run, they're going to beat both those sleds by 10, 15, if not 2000s. I think that the German sled was a plow.
Well, the start times bracketed by just 1/10 of a second at the moment, but we have a tie for third place. Nikita Zakharov, good drive. Slightly longer delays than we're used to between the sleds to clear those start grooves, which will otherwise pack full of snow. And with a 700-kilo sled going over it, the grooves will be full and flat before long. Next up is Alexei Stulnev, the other 28-year-old in the Russian driving lineup. Again, mixing and matching the brakemen here.
Look at the feet coming down this time. Watch the cohesion getting in. The Russians are very proficient at this start procedure, and they have the best start, 492. Now, what I've just seen, I would predict that this guy could get to the bottom with the fastest time if he has the right line. Because I think the track now has been plowed out, and it's an advantage. 4 to 8 should have an advantage here.
Track work has been hard at it today because of this snow. They're doing a great job. You can see very little snow in the track at all.
And straight lines. At this pace, he's going to be the leader. And the only thing to prevent that is a bad trip through the graveyard coming up.
Stulnev looked happy after training.
Pretty good there.
There off 13.
This is the leader. Look at that.
Wow, by a quarter of a second.
Whoa, I'm telling you, this is cool, though. The second heat, all things will be equal. I don't know if the German sleds are going to catch him in the second run. That's a huge lead on this track.
Yeah.
Whoa. This could be another, another Russian sled's coming up next.
None of these Russian drivers have ever won a World Cup race. This could be their first.
I think Stulnev won. Didn't he win in Whistler in 2012?
No, second to, no, that wasn't him either. Second to Alexander Zubkov.
Well, we talk about the graveyard trip. Look at the helmets. Little bouncing on the exit. He flopped off the exit. You saw the helmets bounce out. That was a bad transition, but he kept it straight. And boy, was that fast. And I'll tell you, the next 3 sleds, Stulnev, Dean, and Arndt, are going to fly down this track.
Alexei Stulnev leads by a quarter of a second for Russia. A huge upset in the first 5 sleds.
Luck of the draw so far.
Lamin Dean of Great Britain with John Baines, Joel Fearon, Andy Matthews, the regular 4-man crew. And they will, as long as they're fit, all go again tomorrow behind a 34-year-old Grenadier Guardsman from Manchester.
This could be the best start of the night. This is a perfect start track for these four powerful British athletes.
They were doing 97s in tracksuits in training, and it's an 88. That is an epic getaway. They will be absolutely thrilled with that start.
And the plows have gone down in front of Lamont Dean. This is his race to take the lead on right now.
What a great opportunity for the 34-year-old.
That's not a good sign there. Only to be 700ths ahead. He should have been more with that start advantage. Oh, a little tap on the takeoff.
Well, don't forget that Stulnev, the current leader, is a quarter of a second clear of anybody else.
Well,
So
clean
this
line.
is still a great run for Lamont Dean. He's still in the
Not good
green.
there. Watch him here. Oh, Biggie's little problem there too. He should skid here.
No, doesn't get the worst exit we've seen. A
Big
little
speed.
tap there. 136. Will he lead? Oh, 700's back. Pete Gunn.
Yeah.
Wow.
That mistake was up at 12:13. He made out of the Olympic curve down into the finish curve. He made some errors, and as he entered the curve, the sled took a lot of traction, a lot of skidding. So he lost it on the bottom. He didn't have the drive that Stulnev had.
Never earned himself a World Cup podium in four-man yet. Again, like Stulnev, that's a possibility now.
Now watch here. This isn't bad. He's on the wrong side of the take-on. He wants to get over to the left side of the screen into Wasatch. Now watch him climb the wall here in Wasatch. And this is where the sled starts to get away. Look how high it gets up here. And watch him go over to the right wall. Right side. Look at that skid.
Yep.
Boy, it's tough to get a four-man that big of a sled in that type of a skid.
That one little missed.
Look at this, and now he's still in a skid. He's up way high on the exit. So he was 700s up, 900 or 700s down. He lost 1500s in the last 250 meters.
Man, he's in with a shot, Lamont Dean. What about Max Arndt, our new World Cup points leader? First win of the season came last week. Never off the podium yet, though.
Look how quickly the German team went. As soon as that light was green, they were off. Start, 489. That's all this guy needs.
Wow.
Now watch. This is a magician in a four-man sled right here. This guy's got the eyes and hands. And when he gets a start time like that, I gotta believe he could be 2,500s ahead here at the bottom.
1100s up on Alexei Stulnev.
This is how to do it. Now I don't want to jinx him.
Don't forget,
Look at that,
teammates.
didn't touch. He's up to 14.
Teammates Friedrich and Walter are over a quarter of a second out of the lead at the moment.
They were snowplows. 15. Now watch, he's got to be clean here. German sleds don't have good
just a
speed.
little
Oh,
late.
he's got problems.
Save the status, Lamont Dean.
Should be the leader in single digits. There.
800s, 47.97. There's
Christoph,
a young
yeah,
first of the day.
Okay, well, you expect that. You give him the start, second best start. Boy, you give him the second best start. I keep talking about Friedrich. Friedrich was a snowplow and a bad draw, but the World Cup leader, he gets starts like that, he's going to be tough to catch the rest of the year. Very calm demeanor, looking, hey, just another day at the office.
Double four-man world champion.
And watch these lines here in the bottom. He gets a little high here in the Wasatch, way up there, high, too high. Then here, this is high on the exit. Watch what happens on the outlet of the curve. Skid, very much like his teammate Friedrich. That's the second worst line we've seen in the graveyard, and that resulted in him only being in single digits lead.
So Max Arndt takes the lead of what is already a thrilling snow race. And look at the smile on his face, and René Spiess as well. They're talking about that transition 10 to 11. Well, here is Alexander Kazyanov. Kazyanov, the man whose best World Cup in four-man, was second in Whistler behind Alexander Zubkov in 2013. Last year's second-place man at the end of the season in the chase for the Crystal Globe. He had a standout season in the four-man. A 32-year-old is really going to come of age now if he can pull off a big result.
If he gets a low 90 start, he could be the leader at the bottom or be in second. This guy's coming on. There at 490. Uh-oh. He's only 100 off Arndt.
Here we go.
This guy's been sleeping in December, but after the new year, it looks like his coach, Pierre Lueders, says, I want you to peak in February, and we'll start in Lake Placid, where he won a silver medal.
400s behind Max Arndt, still in second place. Of the third fastest
Here he comes,
start.
4 to 3, and that's perfect. He's in a better Wasatch than Max Arndt.
Here we go.
And if he gets a better straightaway in the graveyard, He could take over
He's
this lead.
already tied for the lead.
Got it. Is he
Alexander
straight?
Kasyanov is going to lead
Straight.
Russia.
He's going to do it.
Much better run than Max on.
speed.
Good speed, 1:37.8,
There
and
it
he
is.
leads by 700ths.
Okay, we have a pretty good race going on here. We have 4 different nations atop of the leaderboard.
Wow.
And I don't think the Russians are that excited. I think they expect this because they didn't have very good results.
Kasyanov.
You know, that's the way Pierre Lueders, their Canadian Olympic gold medal coach with strong disciplinary skills, has practiced this team. And how are these lines?
Watch the front runners. Tiny little
Barely.
check.
But he went into Wasatch
Yep.
with a perfect line. You didn't have that big sweep that Arndt did to the top of the curve. Now they got to weigh him, so they're getting all the snow out of there because they look at that. They're getting all the snow out because they have to weigh. The weigh scale's right there. See where that lady with the broom is? Christy, she's going to weigh them.
Brakeman there bleeding profusely.
That's normal battle wound. That's nothing.
See, he's
It's
already
great.
taped up from
That's
an early
probably from one of those spiked shoes.
Next up, Rico Pader for Switzerland. One of 2 Swiss sleds here today. 32-year-old, 3rd in Koenigsee. His World Cup best just before Christmas.
Okay. Mr. Rico, if he gets a 95 start, he could be top 3. There's 92, better than I thought.
That's a great getaway as well. Looks like the wind may have dropped a little at the start.
Anybody who remembers the 2002 games, the Swiss don't have very good memories in the 4-man competition. The Americans came from behind and knocked both Swiss sleds out of the medals. And Brian Scheimer and Todd Hayes walked away with 2 medals for the United States. So let's see if Rico can extract some revenge here on this snowy night. He's only 500s back.
Currently lying 3rd in the World Cup standings. Max Arndt leads from Francesco Frigic, but Rico Pader's season has been stellar in the format.
He's still only 500s back. Oh, he's sloppy though, watch out. He's gonna hit. No, just a tap.
Could be in front of the World Cup points leader. He's had 2 fourths, a 3rd, and a 5th.
Not bad. Coaches look good. Wolfgang Stomper.
48 flat. Yeah.
4th best start, 3rd best time.
10th away.
And usually that's not his normal trip. Usually he hits everything in sight.
Yeah.
Comes down, it's fast. This time, of course, this track is so different from that off-road racing last week in Lake Placid.
Maybe he needs to hit everything. Kaylee Humphries did, and she went 2nd to gold in the second heat of the women's race.
She blew everybody away in the second heat earlier today.
And that was loose as you like.
But the snow comes straight down. There doesn't see any wind gusts like we saw earlier.
Down at the finish area where our trailer is, it's much better. At the top, it's
this was costly. This was costly. Little skid into 4 into the first sunny. You want to come out of here like a slingshot effect because, boys, it drop off and elevation there and the velocity just picks up. They like it.
Yep, Rico Pader, 3rd place. Next up then is Canada's Justin Cripps, 28-year-old. Career best 4-man race last week in Lake Placid with a bronze medal.
They got some athletes here. Good starts last week. That's why he got that bronze medal. And he likes the difficult tracks. Koenigsee, Lake Placid.
He's got the fast starting crew behind him here. They've been mixing and matching after Christmas, and it really had an effect last week.
I think they found
491, that's another great getaway.
47.5, very good start speed. That's how the athletes entered the sled. He got down, but that's a skid there. Nice camera work there to show that it's such a minute.
Getting so many, aren't we, from 3 to 4? Big,
3 to 4.
Big problem for everybody.
The driver has to feather its way into that curve. 10 back. Well, those are perfect lines.
Well, 10th away, still in top 3 position.
If he's perfect down here, he can get into single digits. And I told you it's going to be 10s. Oh, no, it's dropped. I don't think this track is hard enough for Justin Cripps. He needs more challenge.
Well, again, runner choice has something to do with it. 48.19.
That's a different look in their face than it was last week. Yeah. 4th best start, 6th best finish. Bottom part of the track, that wasn't Justin Cripps.
2900s out of the lead, held by Alexander Kasyanov of Russia, from Max Arndt of Germany and Rico Pader of Switzerland. Arndt, you expect to be in the top 3. The other 2, not so much.
Well, it's not what you want to do. Then he's got to steer into the middle part of the curve. Watch the head snap. See that? When you see those heads snap on a take-on, that means he got on late. Pressure, pressure, is friction. Friction's not your friend in this sport. This take on here, looks like he got on okay. Then straightaway here was, he might be one of the worst. If we give style points out, look at the runner tips. He does not have it smoothly going into the uphill section of the track that we call the graveyard of time.
Cripps there, he was just watching that. Ben Coquel in the hat, clearing off the snow. Alexander Kazhinov, our race leader, after the first 10 sleds by a fraction from Max Arndt. First of 3 US sleds, Nick Cunningham from Monterey, California. His career best, a bronze medal in 4-man in Lake Placid, November 2012. 489, what a great start.
They had great starts, good start speed. Oh, he just did the no-no. He hit between 1 and 2. So he just took away that great start speed. Red numbers coming up here pretty quick. There, another hit. He's hanging in there, but of course, there's the red numbers as expected. He's had 2 hits, taps of the wall up top, 6. So now Nick, if it holds it on here, he could get within 1500s here in the bottom.
The run into 11, Wasatch, and that'll help him here because these corners are all tied together.
Now it's all those mistakes up top are starting to take its toll.
But still be top 6. Casey Whitline, James Reed, Sam Mitchell are all buried in the sled. 6th place it is.
Well, he lost 1500s up top. He could have been single digits. That hit, you heard it distinctively in our ears that he hit out of curve 1, and then he hit down curve 6, 7. Tough to get these 4-man sleds in a skid, but when you do,
tough
it's
to get them
costly.
back. Yeah.
And here's up top. Okay, to watch him come over now, and he's on the in the middle part of the curve. Too late. Now the back end comes up. Now there's a skid. Then he comes over and he hits that bump on the take on. And then here too. Look at the back end of the sled. This is not the line, especially on your home track. He'll be the first one to tell you that was his mistake. Good team though. But his team is really starting to form. Those are
489 getaway. That's a great start.
They're getting some great starts.
It's the family. It really is. Next up is Stephen Holcomb, 35-year-old, 2010 Olympic 4-man champion, double 4-man world champion, and in a flat spin this week. The lines are good, the speed is not.
They've been through this sled a couple times this week.
Richard, their engineer, has been working really hard with Steve Holcomb to try and find something, anything wrong with this.
His last trip down yesterday, Holcomb got out of the sled. I've never seen him more frustrated. 493. Decent. 8th best start. It's not bad. Oh, he did the same thing his teammate did. He tapped out of curve 1.
Lots of fans trackside, of course, lots of US support, loads of drivers' families and athletes' families are here.
Saw his sister.
Yeah, his mum and dad, his sister, Carlo Valdez are here.
Yeah, we saw them in the elevator last night. Only 10 back. Good line there.
Okay.
Speed's decent.
Holcomb can do something from here. He knows the track well. Born and bred in Park City. He trains as a ski racer here. Raced his bike as a kid down the mountain. Skinning his
slide. He's 137. He's got that good
great speed from Holcomb, and he's in the mix. 2 tenths away.
Not bad though. Not bad. Now Holcomb's goal is to get into the top 10 in points. He's 12th in points. Melbardas, the Latvian stud who's not with us, he's got a bad back. He's going to fall out of the top 10.
Yep.
Great chance for Cunningham and Holcomb to move up in the top 10. It's so important in that draw, especially at the World Championships in Innsbruck coming up this year.
In the black coat in the background, Carlo Valdez's sister, one of Steve Holcomb's brakemen. He looks a little happy with that, John. Certainly last night was not the same man.
Now watch him go in the middle of the curve here. Middle, steer, look at the skid, bang. And he didn't hit as hard as Cunningham, but that was worth 6 800s. And you put him up 6 800s, he's in 5th now. Give him 8 more hundreds.
Yeah, 6 800s at the top.
He's in
getting
3rd.
on for 1800s at the bottom.
He's pushing Peter. Hey, but he started 12th. So he's gonna have a better track to work with.
Smile's back though. The smile is back. He looks a little happier with that.
Yeah, that was some decent speed.
Next up, John Jackson with Jonathan Anderson, Ashley Watson, and Judah Simpson on the sled.
Jocko not very happy with his performance last week. Talked to him after the race. Pretty despondent that he doesn't have the best athletes behind him
39-year-old Royal Marine Commando, sat out last year recovering from injury.
And he's going to struggle to get a high 90 start here. Hope they prove me wrong.
5:02.
He's going to need now the perfect ride. He's going to be destined to the bottom of the pack.
These British sleds are fairly elderly. They've been around the block a few times, but they still produce the speed down at the bottom of the track.
Dean 5th last year in the World Championships in Winterberg, and then the Olympic Games.
Well,
Jackson was 5th at the Olympic Games.
Yeah. Lamindine off his blistering run is now being pushed down to 6th position. Jacko 0.42 back.
These are good lines. Speed 138 with that start. That's excellent. 13.
Oh, drop behind Zakharov and Batazzo. He was in front of them down to the last couple of corners.
Well, he has the 12th out of 13 starts.
Speed at the bottom, though, 138.1, fastest sled of all.
He's got talent in his eyes and hands, and he just needs
a few more meters.
A little rocket start, like his teammate Lamindine, who has the best start of the evening so far. Look at the way they take care of the runners here. They don't want to drag the runners through that stuff. Watch the second guy get in here. Of course, Mr. Anderson here, he's a rookie on tour. And he's getting in, he's waiting for his teammates to get down. He's a little hesitating there, and they're looking, he's still wiggling around on that first curve.
Yeah, his feet got caught up around the driver's little seat rest.
You think it's easy running at about 20 miles an hour?
Ooh, head up there, bump, and the head popped up at the back of Judah Simpson.
And you sit there and run, sprint across the ice, and you got to jump with this little bathtub. That's what Kelly Humphreys calls it.
Yeah.
She's coming up.
13 of our 21 sleds down. Next up, Chris Spring with Cameron Stones on the team. Josh Kirkpatrick and Sam Jaguar, the CFL wide receiver, is back.
Well, let's see what kind of start these four good athletes, Cab. That's great.
That's a great getaway.
Chris Spring's got to be happy with his team. He gets through the 1-2 albatross through here. Great. And the Springer, you know,
it's
been in a slump.
Four-man race of the season, don't forget. No four-man for him in Europe.
Only 600s back.
This could be a huge run for Chris Spring of Canada.
But his teammate, like his teammate, they lose a lot of time on the bottom part of the tracks. Justin Cripps had some decent speed into Albert's Alley, and on the bottom it fell away. Now, the same thing's happening to Spring.
Same thing, the lines are good and the speed is not. This is runner choice, it's not suiting the weather.
This is going to be 12 or 13 with that top start. I don't know, 9th, that's not bad. Well, you had the 6th best start, 9th best downtime. You want to, if you have the 6th best start, you want to drive yourself in the 5th or 4th.
I did ask him up at the top, I said, what runners do you got? Have you got fat for snow or thin? And they just said, we've got the runners on. I'm not sure that either Canadian sled has got the best equipment for these conditions. It's like a racing tire. If it's slightly wet, do you go for a full dry tire, an intermediate tire, a wet tire?
There's the straightaway in Albert's Alley, and boy, it looks like the good aerodynamic profile. Now watch here in the graveyard, pretty smooth exit. Boy, you see somebody bouncing around back there, a little tap.
That's where he flopped off the wall in 14.
The aerodynamic drag at 85 miles an hour is so important.
Well, the drive was definitely good from Springer, but the speed just sagged a bit. Sam Jaguar joining this crew, really helping with their pace. Third of our US sleds is Cody Baskew, the 20-year-old from Whitehall, New York. Been driving bobsleds since he was 8 years old. Austin Landis, Nathan Gilslider, and Nick Taylor on the team, whose wife Alana Myers-Taylor won her first race back from her treatment in Eagles on Thursday in Europa Cup.
Okay, some two new athletes here. Cody Baskew had these guys out on the Europa Cup Tour, the North American Tour. 492 is great start.
Another good start.
47.8, not the 48 speed we saw at Cunningham, but he didn't tap the wall like either one of the other US 2 sleds, US 1 and 2 sleds out of curve 1. So let's see what this young, ambitious pilot can do here. 700s back. He stays 1000s back in Albert's Alley. He could get into this top 8.
It's a good-looking run from Cody. Oh, jinxed a little bit of a skid.
Real hard hit out of that last labyrinth in the Albert's Alley. Speed gonna fall away. Yep, that tap cost him a lot.
Still top 10 at the moment. Good exit here, will keep that alive.
138.8, that's incredible speed.
9th place, 8th place, that's a great run.
Wow, the speed on the bottom part of the track for Cody Bescu, and probably one of the oldest sleds in the field. This John Napier used to drive this Bodine sled. His sled got burned up in 2009 or 10. Got burned up and they had to rebuild it.
Classroom Champions sponsored sled, that's the Steve Mester program. Johnny Quinn, another ex-US brakeman, was talking to 400 elementary school kids today.
That's decent. There, 6th best start, drove himself into an 8th position. This was the big mistake here, though. Came out too early, hit, and that was a hard hit. That was not just a tap. That was a hard hit. You know, 10 hundredths more. Boy, if he would 10 hundredths more,
well, he'd have
been up there tying with Holcomb.
Yep.
Good run for Cody Bescu.
Yeah, very good run.
Like they're not going to, I don't know if they're weighing him or not.
Alexander Kashinov of Russia, still our race leader in a very tight battle. Holcomb in 5th place, just 2/10 away. Well, still no Oskars Melbardis. Latvia's #1 driver injured his back in the gym and has sat out last week and this week. Martin Haven and John Morgan watching his teammate Oskars Kibermanis, 16th of our 21 sleds.
Kibermanis did not race last weekend in the 4-man.
Man at 2, Yanis Janssens, comes up from Ugis Zalim's team where he was racing last week. Oh, good load as ever. The Latvians are so well drilled.
Look at that. 486, the best start of the competition, the best speed. And these are good lines. Now, Kibermanis, he's 500s back. Again, didn't race last weekend. Crashed in training in Lake Placid like a few other people. And with Melbardis out of the competition, Zalmas didn't have a ride in 4-man. The Latvians didn't have a 4-man team in the competition last week.
First time
in my memory.
Yeah.
Since the wall came down.
900s back, so he will be in the top 4 or 5 at the moment.
This is decent. Speed
is very good, and he is 6th.
Right behind Holcomb by 100. Holcomb,
wow.
He beat Holcomb by 700s at the top, but lost to him by 100 at the bottom.
Holcomb, Kibermanis, and Dean, 5th, 6th, 7th, covered by 200ths of a second. 8th place Cunningham, a further 100 back. Cripps and Bescu, a further 100th back. So from 5th to the tie for 9th, 500ths of a second. This is very tight, not just at the top of the field. Very tight indeed. A tiny little rub on the wall from Kibermanis, not as big a hit as we saw from Chris Spring. As a result, he's a 10th ahead of Spring at the bottom of the track.
Not happy.
Sees the errors, that's all they think about. They don't think about the corners that went right, they only think about the ones that went wrong.
But they do have the best start time, which puts them in a position to challenge for a medal in the second run.
Winners already today. Kaylee Humphreys and Melissa Lottholtz are joined in the 4-man sled by Cynthia Appiah and Genevieve Thibault. So this 4-woman sled for the first time ever last week at World Cup standard, an all-female crew in the 4-man. Kaylee claimed her 3rd win of the season this morning.
Goggles and bare hands.
Yeah. Not many drivers drive in gloves. It takes away some of the feeling, and the steering movements are so minute. 5:55 getaway.
Well, 6,500s down at the bottom part of the track means you're going to be 1.8 seconds behind at the bottom. So if she's less than 1.8 seconds behind, I think she'll probably be about a minute, 1.4 behind with, you know, she can drive.
Yeah, she sure can. She had a very neat first run to be second by 200ths and a wild second run to win by over a 10th of a second.
These push bars are coming out. This is the sled Chris Spring crashed in Open.
Oh, skid for Kaylee.
There in the 14 in the finish. Those push bars, Eurotech sled been rebuilt. Kaylee ducks her head 2 seconds back. And you know, you look on and you know, without that start time, you know, and then they're pushing a much heavier sled.
Yeah, lighter crew, heavier
it's
sled.
a maximum weight, minimum weight in the sled. So you want to have these 225-pound guys. Well, these are not 225-pound females, so which means they got to put the weight in the sled. They got to push a heavier sled. 6,500 at the start is 1.8 seconds at the bottom. But this four-man women's crew has brought a lot of attention to the sport. Look at the push bars come out. This is down in 13-14, and she was a little early coming out there, but you know, she's the only person in the field that was racing this morning. So this is her third trip down, and look at the graveyard. Four-man doesn't drive like the two-man, and she'll be the first one to tell you.
A couple of female crews racing in the four-man competition in Europa Cup in Eagles this week as well. Alana Myers-Taylor, and the Romanians have got a four-woman crew in the four-man race. An emotional day last weekend in Lake Placid, emotional week or two for the Koreans. This is Yoon Jung-won. And Coach Malcolm Lloyd's memorial service held today in his hometown of Calgary.
Problems getting in. Push bar still out. Still out
at 2.
That's too much activity. And you know, one thing about the Koreans, they're so disciplined in the way they approach the sport. It's why they're successful already in the sport.
Well, their head coach is not here today. He's gone to join Jeannie and the rest of the family at Malcolm Lloyd's memorial service. And that's how much a mark of respect they hold for Goma. They're not alone in this paddock either.
It's a pretty emotional weekend last weekend at St. Moritz for all of the bobsled family. And Scott.
Whoa, not a bad exit.
Slippery.
136, decent speed. 17th place. So he's in front of Cayley Humphries of Canada, and he will make the second heat. So we have now 3 sleds remaining and only 2 spots in the race. And 2 of those 3 are World Cup rookie drivers.
Young Lee, I'm sure, is watching this race with big eyes up in Calgary. You know, our best to him, and watching his team here. Now second guy just waiting for his teammates to get up. Look at his foot's caught up around
the back of the drivers. And drivers don't have a high seat, they have a tiny little sort of semicircular bucket that the backside goes in.
And all that moving around in the first curve, that's side to side. This is sport about everything going forward, reducing friction. That's not a lot of reducing friction when you're all moving around on that sled in the first curve.
Ivo Danilevich there in the black hat, taking over the driver coaching duties. So next up, the 30-year-old fireman from Riga in Latvia, Ugis Zalims, started as a brakeman back in 2008, and after the 2010 games converted to driving.
Now, I got to believe this is a little bit of Mel Bartis' team.
Well, Intars Dambis at the back has been definitely in and out of Mel Bartis' sled. Dambis started braking in 2002.
Might be the oldest brakeman in the field, and he's still a stud.
Yeah.
And the Latvians, when you watch these guys get out of the sleds, what physical specimens, not 1, 2, 3, 4, 12 of them. The whole Latvian team looks like they're, you know, they're all decathletes, we know that, but what? It's unbelievable. I always say the biggest, fastest athletes in the United States are in the NFL. The biggest, fastest athletes in Latvia are in the Latvian bobsled team.
They are.
Ooh, he's late there. That's why he got so high.
May get a chance to race at home next season as well.
Start time only the 13th best time at the start. Surprise, because all 3 of these Latvian teams.
6th best start, but 13th by the second clock. So they didn't carry that momentum. And down to 14th place, ahead of Simona Bertazzo and Zakharov as well, tied for 14th. 17th at the line, ahead of 1. Well, we talked about Intars Dambis. I pretty much guarantee he braked for Sandis Prusis when Prusis was driving.
Absolutely. And the other thing too is you got to say it's 17th sled down. The track's now getting chopped up. There was a little vortex in there. The first 2 or 3 sleds were snowplows. Look how late he was there. Wow, that's in the 5, 6, 7 in Wasatch area. That's really, really time consuming there. He got away with it. But I think that sleds 4 to 9, 10 had the optimum conditions on this track, because we saw some amazing shuffling of the cards there.
19 sleds down. And we have got two rookies here. Now, the Dutch are back with Ivo de Bruin, the 30-year-old, lives in Calgary, married to his wife, Christine, who drives for Canada. Soccer player Ryan Taal from Calgary. He's a Canadian with Dutch parentage. Igor Brink, a sprinter and hurdler, and Dennis Venker, a decathlete who has been braking for his girlfriend, who also drives bobsleds earlier this season.
As does Ivo de Bruin's wife.
Yep. And this is an ex-Martin Annan Olympic sled built by Christian Reich, so the sled has got lots of heritage as well as the team.
This sled's got the track record at the start then.
Yeah, may well do.
This Ivo de Bruin is on a mission to Korea. 2018 is focused. The Dutch have really just cut off all their financial support. He told me they only got 13,000 euros for the whole season. And we all know that all that money in the Olympic pool went to the speed skating team. But Ivo de Bruin we've shown some great talent, but not right there though.
Coach Graham Richardson always touted him as a good driver for the future when he was a junior.
16th best start, so he should drive himself in the 16th place.
18th place, he's ahead of one of Korea and Humphreys at the moment. He's in the race. And across the line in 18th place, he is in the race. There's Wim Normans, who runs the Eurotech operation, another proud Dutchman. So, in the race on his first ever World Cup race.
Oh no, he's been in World Cup two-man.
Not as a driver.
I think he's been in the two-man race. I think he's been in the two-man. But whatever. It's great to see the orange color back.
Yeah.
It's bad. Look at this. They got some problems here. They went up too far.
Yeah, it just went a little far under the brakes.
You know, remember the other teams taking care of their runners, picking up the sleds?
Well, the ice is still there underneath all that snow.
Yeah, scratching them. Here's the skid. Watch the back end. Now he's got to get into this Wasatch curve with a lot of pressure. Got to steer.
He doesn't drive away from the wall, though. He wants to get up on that line. So composed work from Ivo de Bruin. These guys so enthusiastic. I mean, basically they're mortgaging themselves for many years to come to do this. And what about this next story as well? We've got another rookie at the other end of the age scale. Ivo de Bruin, 30. But Billy Meyermans, is 48 years old. Well,
this is a fun team.
These are the A-team. Hannibal, face at 2, Marcel Dobler. Kalashnikov, you probably didn't see him in the original series. The Russian, Nikolai Ekimov, and then B.A. Baracus. Marius Brenning on the back of the sled. And these guys are deadly serious about their sport, but they don't take themselves even remotely seriously.
What a spirit, what a promotional spirit. If everybody promoted themselves like our good friend Mr. Byron's did, everybody be better off financially. Boy, did he come in the wrong side of that curve.
Well, he's raced here once before in the North America's Cup. He was a brakeman originally for Martin Annan, started driving back in 2002. His first ever race in the Europa Cup, he was 4th. The sled built by Wolfgang Stampfer, so we know it's going to be quick at the bottom.
He's only 5/10 back.
And he is in the race.
19th best start.
19th place at the moment. He's got to beat Katie Humphreys to get a second heat guaranteed.
Unless he crashes, even if he crashes now, he's still going to beat her.
And I think we need to say at this stage, I love it when a plan comes together. He makes the second cut. He makes the cut into the second heat on his first ever World Cup race. Billy Meyerhans, Peace Meyerhans,
the A-team. See that on the sled?
The A-team, and on the sled, and on the shoes, and on the race suits.
Everybody should take a little lesson. Now look at the side, look at the sled. How well promoted. They should just take a lesson from him on how to market your sport yourself. He does a great job. He gives up time here at the start, but he's 48 years old.
Driver's 48. The men at 2 and 3 are in their 30s. The youngest man on the team is 26 years old.
And the lines down the track, well, he's been on a lot of these tracks. 4th in the Swiss Championships a couple years ago.
And where is Mad Murdoch, you say? Well, he will be on the sled tomorrow. So Kalashnikov gets a day off. Mad Murdoch will be back in. Obviously, they have to drive everywhere because they can't get VA on a plane. Well, our race leader after the first of 2 heats here, the first of 2 races this weekend in Park City, is Alexander Kasyanov. He has never led a World Cup race before. He has never won a World Cup race before. He may do so today, but the field is tight behind him. 2 tenths back to 5th, 3 tenths back to 10th position. This is going to be an epic shootout for the medals. Stay with us. Live action coming up from Park City, Utah. This Olympic track has got plenty more to show us.
Great persona, this track. Ties. We could see some ties for the medals.
Well, Kazyanov with plenty to think about for the second heat. 700s ahead of the double 4-man world champion Rico Peter, again in the medal position in 10th. Alexei Stulev could be on the verge of greatness. Holcomb in 6th position, definitely not out of the medals is Kibermanis either. And Dean and Cunningham and Cripps and Bascu are just a few hundreds behind. Then the gaps open up a little bit. Billy Meyerhans and his team, the A-team, will go off first. Kaylee Humphries and her crew will join the spectators trackside, hopefully wrapped up nice and warm. Down by the low point of the track, they've got lots of catering, food, giant screens. Nobody's on the aerial walkway in the wind and the snow. I can't imagine why that might be. So join us for the second and deciding heat as we go 20 down to 1 to find out who will win the first of 2 4-man races here this weekend.